In the State of the Union standoff, President Trump used his annual State of the Union address last night to tout a strong economy and booming stock market. But what everybody seems to be talking about today is the drama we saw play out between the president and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Yahoo Finance's Jessica Smith is in D.C. with more on this.
Adam, it was a very, very partisan night here in Washington. Throughout most of the address, Republicans would stand up. They would cheer at times, chanting 4 more years, while Democratic lawmakers stayed in their seats. Some walked out, some yelled back at the president. So you could just really see the division in Washington. President Trump did tout the economy, as you mentioned. He talked about the low employment rate. He talked about the stock market and his trade deals. Let's watch.
Many politicians came and went, pledging to change or replace NAFTA, only to do so, and then absolutely nothing happened. But unlike so many who came before me, I keep my promises. We did our job.
President Trump did not mention Democratic lawmakers who worked with Ambassador Lighthizer to ensure that the deal made it through the House. You kind of saw Speaker Pelosi shaking her head a little bit at that point. And there was some drama between President Trump and Speaker Pelosi. When he entered the room, she went to shake his hand and he ignored her. And then when she introduced him, she cut the customary, "It is my honor, my privilege." And she just said, "Members of Congress, the President of the United States." And then, of course, she ripped up her speech at the end of her address, at the end of his address. She was asked why by reporters later, and she said that it was the courteous thing to do considering the alternatives. Reporters also asked her if she would invite him back for another State of the Union, and she just said she hopes by that time there is a new president. Adam and Julie.
Well, that makes one wonder what the uncourteous thing would have been. Jess, thank you very much. Set it on fire? I don't know. Stomp on it on the ground? I guess there are different options, but this just further highlights that it's sort of a farce, the whole show. I mean, it's a show.
The State of the Union always has been.
No, but more so.
Between these two, right.
Well, no, just generally, Washington has become more reality show than it ever has before.
Let's look at, let's have some unity here. Let's look at where they were all standing in unison when they talked about infrastructure. Now, whether we get a $1 trillion infrastructure spending plan in an election year, but they all agreed to do it. Now, they've agreed to do it for almost 3 years, 4 years, and they haven't.
And to the point that you made earlier, I mean, it's a State of the Union in this political climate, but it's also a State of the Union in the last year of this current first administration, right, that we're seeing from President Trump. So there's not a lot of time for Congress to do anything, especially with the Senate tied up with the impeachment hearings anyway. It's not like we should expect an infrastructure deal to get passed by November. I think, though, there were a lot of sentimental moments during the State of the Union. You have, for example, the son or the descendant of the Tuskegee Airmen, which was a pretty sentimental moment. You had the person returning from tour and that reunion between his wife and kids. So
the young girl who got the scholarship.
So those were all, you could call it theatrics. Yes, it's definitely trying to play to a base. But when you look at the actual content of the State of the Union, I thought that some of the numbers that he provided on the economy, they were, it's a tight labor market right now. Unemployment at all time, or at 50-year lows, 3.5%. There were some bits that were a little fuzzy. There was a statement where he said, in the 8 years under the Obama administration, 300,000 working-age people dropped out of the workforce. But in his administration, 3.5 million working-age people joined the workforce. I was unable to verify that number. I was trying actually last night to dig up whether or not that was prime-age labor force participation as provided by the BLS. That was a little fuzzy to me. So maybe some of it was a little bit...
Fuzzy math?
Fuzzy math, if you will.
Or incorrect?
Or incorrect. I'm still trying to figure that out.
An easier one is he counts job creation from his election, but on average, the Obama administration was creating what was about 220,000 jobs a month, whereas the Trump administration has been creating about 190,000 a month.
Right. In the aggregate, we have, the workforce has been adding people, but I guess it's prime age. They're accounting for some sort of adjustment there, but a little fuzzy still.
I think the whole... theatrics of it, circus-like atmosphere of it. I mean, there was nothing else that, from a political standpoint that the Democrats could do but act out at the State of the Union, considering that today we're going to see Trump be acquitted. we assume, right? He's going to be.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's really, I think, the only leg they had to stand on to say some form of protest against that. Whether or not it made sense, you know, I mean, you have the Speaker of the House tearing up documents there on TV. I mean, it just felt a little, you know, overwrought to me.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.